Did you know Nelson Mandela was once public enemy number one, labeled a terrorist by those who sought to maintain the brutal system of apartheid? This is the story of a man who went from being a young lawyer to a global icon, a symbol of resistance and reconciliation. Nelson Mandela's journey is a testament to the power of the human spirit, a long walk from the village of Mvizo to the presidency of a nation. Ralilila Mandela was born on July 18, 1918, in the small village of Mvizo, in the Eastern Cape of South Africa. He was a member of the Madiba clan of the Thembu people. His father, Nkosi Mfakaniswa Gadla Mandela, was a principal counselor to the Thembu acting King Jonjin Taba Dalindibo. Mandela's early life was steeped in tradition, but tragedy struck when his father died in 1930. At the age of 12, he became a ward of Jonjin Taba, living at the Mkekazwini Great Place. This experience exposed him to the intricacies of tribal leadership and governance. Mandela received his early education at a local missionary school, where he was given the name Nelson. He later attended University College of Fort Hare, a prestigious institution for Black Africans. However, his academic pursuits were cut short in 1940 when he was expelled for participating in a student protest. This marked the beginning of his active involvement in anti-apartheid politics. In 1944, Mandela moved to Johannesburg and joined the African National Congress, the ANC. He quickly became involved in the ANC Youth League, a more radical faction within the organization. Along with Oliver Tambo and Walter Sisulu, Mandela co-authored the ANC's program of action in 1949, advocating for more direct and assertive methods of resistance to apartheid. In 1952, Mandela was elected president of the ANC Youth League. That same year, he helped launch the Defiance Campaign, a nationwide movement of nonviolent resistance against apartheid laws. Thousands of people participated in acts of civil disobedience, resulting in over 9,000 arrests. The Sharperville Massacre in 1960, where police killed 69 peaceful protesters, was a turning point. It became clear that peaceful protest alone would not dismantle apartheid. In 1961, Mandela, along with other ANC leaders, co-founded Umkhonto we Sizwe, MK, the armed wing of the ANC. Mandela believed that sabotage against government infrastructure was necessary to disrupt the apartheid regime and force it to negotiate. He famously stated there was no other alternative. In January 1962, Mandela secretly left South Africa under the alias David Motsemei. He traveled to Morocco and Ethiopia, where he received military training. He even spent time in England, seeking support for the anti-apartheid cause. He would spend 4 months training with Algerian FLN fighters in Morocco and 16 days with the Ethiopian Imperial Bodyguard. Upon his return to South Africa in July 1962, Mandela continued his underground activities. However, his freedom was short-lived. On August 5, 1962, he was arrested at a roadblock in Howick after briefing ANC President Albert Luthuli. This arrest marked the beginning of Mandela's long imprisonment. In 1963, Mandela and several other ANC leaders were put on trial in what became known as the Rivonia trial. They were charged with sabotage and other crimes against the state. During the trial, Mandela delivered his famous "I am prepared to die" speech, which resonated around the world. He argued that he had acted out of a sense of moral obligation to fight against an unjust system. On June 12, 1964, Mandela and several of his co-defendants were sentenced to life imprisonment. He would spend the next 27 years of his life behind bars. For the first 18 years, Mandela was incarcerated on Robben Island, a notorious prison off the coast of Cape Town. The conditions were harsh. He and other political prisoners were subjected to hard labor, poor food, and racial discrimination. He was assigned prisoner number 466-64, a dehumanizing reminder of his status. Mandela worked in a lime quarry, which damaged his eyes due to the blinding dust. Despite the difficult circumstances, Mandela maintained his spirit and continued to resist. He studied Afrikaans, the language of the apartheid regime, in order to understand his warders. He also taught his fellow prisoners about law and history, providing them with intellectual stimulation and hope. He even smuggled grapes from visiting wife Winnie to make wine. As the years passed, Mandela became an international symbol of resistance to apartheid. The global anti-apartheid movement grew, and pressure mounted on the South African government to release him. In 1982, Mandela was transferred to Pollsmoor prison on the mainland. In 1988, he was moved again to Victor Verster prison, where he was held in relative comfort. During his imprisonment, Mandela explored options negotiating with the South African government through intermediaries. Secret communications became a key part in his release. Finally, on February 11, 1990, after 27 years of imprisonment, Nelson Mandela was released. His release was met with jubilation around the world. He immediately resumed his leadership role in the ANC. In 1991, he replaced Oliver Tambo as ANC president. Following his release, Mandela played a crucial role in negotiating the end of apartheid with President F.W. de Klerk. The two leaders worked together to establish a framework for a democratic South Africa. The Convention for a Democratic South Africa, CODESA, was held from 1991 to 1993 and helped avert a civil war by establishing an interim constitution. On April 27, 1994, South Africa held its first democratic elections. Nelson Mandela voted for the first time in his life. The ANC won a landslide victory. On May 10, 1994, Nelson Mandela was inaugurated as the first president of a democratic South Africa in Pretoria. His presidency was marked by a commitment to reconciliation and nation-building. He established the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, chaired by Desmond Tutu, to investigate human rights abuses committed during the apartheid era. Mandela's vision was to create a rainbow nation, where all South Africans, regardless of race, could live together in peace and harmony. He served as president until 1999, laying the foundation for a more just and equitable society. Even before becoming president, Mandela shared the Nobel Peace Prize with de Klerk in 1993. After his presidency, Mandela continued to be a global advocate for peace, human rights, and social justice. He established the Nelson Mandela Foundation in 1999, which supports various charitable causes. Nelson Mandela died on December 5, 2013, at the age of 94. His death was mourned around the world. His legacy continues to inspire people to fight for freedom and equality. Mandela's life also had its controversial aspects. As head of MK, he refused to disavow violence, saying there was no alternative. Church Street bombing killed 19 people in 1981, for example. Also, his then wife Winnie Mandela supported the practice of necklacing. Her reputation caused additional controversy. There was also the economic policies, like the GEAR program, which some argued led to high unemployment despite being meant to increase privatization. Questions have also been raised about the HIV/AIDS response at the time led by his successor Mbeki. Nelson Mandela's story isn't about a perfect man, it's about a man who fought through imprisonment, controversy, and more to become a symbol of hope and redemption for millions around the world.